How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great. Man, it's crazy. We're getting into the second half of the season here.
Yep.
I felt like just a couple weeks back, we were like kind of going. Now we're in the nitty-gritty here. In a couple weeks, we're going to be talking about state seeding here soon. So it's fun times right around the corner. So
I cannot wait. Let's get right into it. Girls Team of the Week takes us to the Catholic League. Who you got?
We haven't really talked about this team much, but I feel like I need to spend some time on them. St. Ursula Academy, they've had a really good start, 6-1-2 on the year. Really, to be fair, they have not played that schedule that they've had, in recent years. I've had some really good wins. Just beat Bluffton last night, 5-0 on senior night. Beat a really good Liberty Benton team, who's definitely one of the top end teams. Archbold, who's always been a really good side on the smaller school division side, and also Bryan. But quality draws against Sylvania Northview and also against Kettering Alter out of the Dayton area, and then that one lone loss to Anthony Wayne 1-0, which I really thought in that second half they controlled a lot of that match and put Anthony Wayne on their heels a little bit. So this Arrows team's really dangerous. Izzy Nitschke and Lucy Ewing, two big-time seniors on that team last year. They really could get them going. But the big person I'm really impressed with is Finn Zora, their goalkeeper, really keeps them in the match. She did a fantastic job in an Anthony Wayne game I had a few weeks back. And Maddie McKeon, had to bring her up a little bit. She's been fantastic for them, just giving them a lot of service. As a sophomore, got a little bit of time last year as a freshman, but she's getting a lot of service now. As a sophomore, she kind of really leads that group. But I really like this St. Ursula team to be really dangerous in Division II, potentially get back to that regional final, but maybe take another step to get to that Final Four.
The St. Ursula team doesn't sound like a team you want to see. 3-match winning streak, outscoring opponents 11-0. Of course, the Arrows looking for their first winning season since 2022. All right, who's your girls player of the week?
Olivia Gayhart from Finley.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is she's had to be Miss, two-way, a center back, a forward. She's done a really good job. 10 goals on the year, 4 assists for the Lady Trojans. They're having a really good year this year as well, too, because, again, they've lost so much throughout the last couple of years. Mike Aubrey, his second season as a head coach there, she's really done a really good job of being able to go up front, score some goals, but also really be able to be on that back end for them as well, too, whenever they need be. So this Finley team is going to be really dangerous. Olivia Gayhart is one of the top-end players in Northwest Ohio.
You mentioned that she is traditionally a cornerback, but as you said, she has 14 combined goals and helpers. Why do you think she's making it look so easy switching from a cornerback to a forward?
Well, the biggest thing for me, one, is she's very dynamic, either on the ball, off the ball as well, too. I mean, when she was a defender as her first couple years, she does such a really good job of reading the game, but she also has a lot of that speed, that size that you definitely need. But I think when you translate that more in the attacking side of things as well, too, being really technical, being good on the ball, she can strike a ball from really anywhere. I saw that from her freshman year. So, that's not a big problem. So she definitely does bring that piece to the game with her. But I think the most thing about her, she's very more of a utility player. She's going to do whatever it takes for this Finley team to win it. She's doing that right now as a senior.
Alrighty, boys side, who's your team of the week?
Man, I'm going to go to Sylvania Southview, man. Last week, a couple weeks ago, we talked about Northview, but Andy Kufel's got something going over there. And I tell you what, last night I had a privilege to be there for at least 40 minutes of an absolute drubbing of the previous #1 team in the state, Springfield, beat them 4-0. They don't do it with a lot of flash. They don't do it with a lot of just individual talent. They do it with grit. They do it with organization. They were so organized defensively last night. I was super impressed with what I saw. They've only conceded 5 times this year. 5, okay? And we're talking now, we're almost into the season here. They've only given up 5 goals. That speaks a lot about what they've done defensively. Had a 1-0 loss last week against Perrysburg, a Perrysburg team that is really thriving. Had 5 goals in that Northview game last week. They only conceded 1. They got that one in the first half. That speaks volumes of what Coach Kufel and that staff is doing over there. They're kind of on the younger side. I thought early in the year he was kind of like, we don't know what we're going to do with this team. They're finding ways to be in the conversation. And, boy, it's going to be interesting in that Cardinal division the next couple weeks to see what happens. But these two teams, them and Springfield, are in the same district.
Potentially
postseason. And we saw it last year, and guess who won? Southview won. So, again, that's the part where it's going to be really interesting, but really impressed with what I saw from that Cougar side yesterday. And, again, they're just going to keep getting stronger and stronger as the season goes on.
As for your boys' player of the week, who you got?
Oh, man, I've been waiting for this one for a long time,
He's been eating all year.
He's, you know what, and this is special to me because I coach his older brother, but Drew Puckett from St. Francis de Sales, the kid has done everything he has possibly had to do for the last 4 years. And not only does he do it on the soccer field, he does it for the football nights as well, too. Obviously, a little bit of a setback last week against St. John's, but he got a goal against St. John's last week in the game winner. And I tell you what, that was clever play, a heady play that tells you what kind of soccer IQ that kid has. this kid's trying to win his 4th straight district title. It's going to take a lot for him to really kind of get this team going because I feel like he's kind of got the energy for them. He's such a good attacking piece. He kind of reminds me so much of his older brother, Jarrett. When I had Jarrett at St. Francis, just what he brings to the field, that moxie that he has, and what a little bit of that swagger and aura that you want to see a kid have. But he really does it with his play, and he's very versatile in a lot of different ways. You can put him in the midfield, you can put him out wide, you can put him up front. He's going to be a threat from a lot of different areas. If they can get going, because I know the biggest piece for them has been goal scoring. And I'd tell you this, they've had a really tough schedule, but he has rose to every single challenge, every single game, has played a big piece. He's had 2 goals against St. John's, one off a penalty kick, and then off of that awesome free kick last week over at Lightenfield. That was a game winner for them. Drew Puckett was a unanimous player of the week for me this week on the boys' side.
Yes, sir. On that note, let's get into your boys' top 10. The biggest drop-off, Springfield going from number 1 the past few weeks all the way down to number 3, but that comes after it fell to Southview, who you have at number 4. So with that, I ask, why is St. Francis at number 1?
You know, the biggest thing I think, if you really look at it, one, they're going to be battle tested probably more than anybody else in this area. That CHSL up there, it's no joke. And I mean, everybody talks about, oh, it's really good in football and basketball. No, soccer's really good up in the state of Michigan as well, too. And that explains, you know, they've lost to 2 really twice. You know, they lost to DCC, who's a top 20 team in the state. They lost to UAD Jesuit, who's a top 10 team in the state. You know, they lost to De La Salle. They get a chance to play against them on Thursday night. I think this St. Francis team has been more battle tested than probably a lot more teams in this area really has. So that kind of gave me a little bit more of a leg up for them. Perrysburg's right there as well, too. I really like what they're doing right now. I think they can be a big threat in Northeast Ohio when they get to that district level, just depending on where they get seated and what bracket they decide to go to. Springfield fell just a little bit, just because the biggest thing for me was I feel like they got to kind of get back to where they're at. I think they were kind of high for a little bit. They're still a really good team with what they have on the field. Again, last night happened for a reason. I think they're going to be perfectly fine the rest of the way. Potentially have that Perrysburg game at the end of the year that really doesn't mean anything at that point. If you lose that game, what's the big deal? It's not a big deal because you're already on the seeding line. But after that, I was really impressed with Maumee Valley Country Day yesterday, buddy. You know, Dave Scozen's got something really going over there with guys like Skinner and Lewis Snelling and things like that. Owen Dunn, I was really impressed with at the back for them. He really kind of contains things. And Braden Nichols, the son of Bowling Green State head coach Eric Nichols, does a really great job in the middle there, just being a guy that just moves with the play. He's able to find those simple passes that really releases a lot of their attack. They got a lot of attacking prowess over there at Maumee Valley Country Day, but everything else kind of stayed the same at the bottom. You know, the big thing's going to be up top. You know, right now it's really top heavy between really 3 teams. Southview's going to they made their way up there this week. I just think right now the threshold right there is kind of being, it could have been either way. It could have went either Southview 3 or Springfield 4. But I really felt like, well, you know what? The better resume kind of speaks for itself right now. They're ranked in the top 10 in the state. You got to show that respect to what Springfield's done. But that Southview team is going to be very dangerous when it comes to playoff time.
Meanwhile, your girls' top 10 is chalk. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. That means the girls' teams in our areas, they're holding it down. They're getting their business done. But you do have a newcomer at number 10, Toledo Christian.
Toledo Christian, man, I tell you what, the biggest thing I've been really impressed with, not even just on the boys' side, but the girls' side. You know, the girls' side got a lot of numbers out and some really dynamic players for them as well, too. You know, that tack it's a little bit different, you know, like especially for girls soccer. You know, usually Ottawa Hills has been kind of the cream of the crop the last few years, but I really like what TC has and what they do over there and things like that. The biggest piece is they got some athletes. That's going to be the most important piece. You got to have athletes on the field if you're going to win games. You know, obviously, you know, got some really good defenders back there that kind of just keeps the ball out of the back of the net, and their records improved immensely from where it probably has been the last couple of years. So that TC team deserves some credit where credit is due for all the things they've done this year. So they got a lot of credit, but you know, it's just the usual suspects up top, man. I mean, it's kind of, we'll figure that out. We'll figure that out in about 2 weeks' time, and on October 8th when it's out in White House. Does Perrysburg go in there and do what they did last year, snatch it away from Anthony Wayne? Or does Anthony Wayne say, well, we ain't been at home all year. We've been on the road. We're World Warriors. We're finally back at home, getting used to this thing. Nah, you ain't going to take it away from us that easily. Not so fast, my friend, you know. But again, I really think that's going to be a big game. But that Ursula team they're lurking. They're not too far behind. It'll be interesting to see what they do against Perrysburg. I do like what Scott Reed has done with this team as well, too. He's kind of kept them like, hey, that's fine. We don't want to be in the conversation right now, but we want to be in the conversation late October, early November. That's when you want to be in the conversation. They're doing all the right things to get to that point. And that Notre Dame team, they're just getting stronger. And the one thing I will say about a lot of young teams, they don't understand the moment. So there's no pressure on them. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Anthony Wayne, Perrysburg, and St. Ursula's because you got a lot of seniors that this is it for some of them. For a team like Notre Dame Academy, or even a team like Northview, what are we playing for? I got a couple more years left to get back to this point. So those younger teams, when they get in those situations, I really feel that they're a lot more comfortable. They're not really too worried about a lot of things. So top 10 stay the same, but I'm glad to see TC finally made it in there. You got to get some representation to the TAC, so it definitely worked out.
Yes, sir. Coach Francis Stevens joining us every week to break down the best in high school soccer here in the Toledo area. Coach, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you for having me.